This is the Battle of the Coral Sea. The ships didn't actually fire on each other, and it was the first Japanese setback on World War II. For the invasion of New Guinea, they brought in all these little ships, and they're like reinforcing it and stuff. And then, luckily, the U.S. broke the Japanese code, so they were well aware of the deployment. Alright, General MacArthur, we're trying to find Japanese intel. Here, let's try to see if we can find the tuning. I don't see anything. Come on, we gotta keep looking, we gotta find this. Where are they deploying? What is this? Come on. Let's go. Guys, focus. What is that? What is that?
Oh, it's the ancient language. I know this.
What? It sounds like Morse code.
No, it's the ancient language. They're just talking like that. It's not machines.
Are you serious? Alright, let's try to decode it. And they planned a counterattack with these two big ships, Yorktown and Lexington. And so then the Japanese brought in these troops on the Solomons, like so. And a total of 93 American aircraft were hunting for the misidentified Japanese carriers. So they continued their search, and bad weather prevented the Japanese planes from finding the other carriers. Where'd they go? So they just dumped their bombs and left.
Drop the bombs.
Shampoo.
Does that taste gross?
Torpedo planes attacked Lexington, the Japanese. And also they dropped a bomb on Yorktown.
Drop the bombs.
Make sure you can see.
Shampoo.
Does that taste gross?
The U.S. launched missiles at the Shokagu carrier, but they missed or did minimal damage. The Japanese were the victors of the sea battle, but the assault damaged a lot of Japanese ships with their planes. So that way they couldn't attack Australia anymore. Wake Island was the first lengthy battle between the U.S. and Japanese. The U.S. took possession of Wake Island in 1898, but it didn't become important until 1935 when it was a refueling stop for the Pan American Clippers Airways. And the Japanese attacked Wake Island the same day as Pearl Harbor. The American defenders managed to get a few good hits in. But then the Japanese brought in these ships and started bombing them repeatedly.
Shit.
Why didn't you do it? Oh yeah, if we just...
Definitely. Oh!
Oh! So they retreated, and so they brought in their forces. But then the U.S. just brought in their ships and started bombing them repeatedly. And so they had to surrender. And then they ended up with the island after all. Okay, the Battle of Midway was a site of unsuccessful Japanese attacks in 1941-42. They wanted it so they could attack the Hawaiian Islands. And so they brought in all these submarines and warships. But U.S. Admiral Frank Fletcher also called in warships. They were coming from the side. And then they launched all these planes off, but the Japanese kept shooting them down. Because they didn't really know where they were going. And then they decided to launch another attack because the planes flew real low, so their guns were low. So they launched one from really high. My leg! They started taking them out, and so they were dead. And then they also launched bombs and torpedoes and took them out. And then they lost, and it was a very decisive blow against the Japanese Navy. And the northern phase of the battle was pretty much... Alright, so in the Battle of the Philippines, General MacArthur, which was the main commander of the U.S. Troops that were in the Pacific, was trying to defend Bataan or whatever. And after the Pearl Harbor, the Japanese brought in these air attacks that were unexpected by the U.S. So then they had to retreat, and then the Japanese brought their forces in, and they captured a ton of U.S. soldiers, and they had the Bataan Death March, which was like 76,000 American people, and like 52 or over 5,000 of them died on a 12-day march. And then some. And then, so they're, settling in here, having fun. But then there's a guerrilla group that starts taking them out and taking over some stuff. So the U.S. comes back in when they're stronger and starts attacking. And so they just retreat to another island of the Philippines. And then they go in again. And then they retreat to another island of the Philippines. And then they go in again. And then they retreat to another island. And then so on. And so then they end up losing. And General MacArthur wins it at the end in like 1944, I think. So yeah. This is the Battle of Guadalcanal, which is on the Solomon Islands, and the U.S. brought in their forces and started attacking, and so they started losing, or whatever, and it took them a day to even realize that they were being attacked, so then they brought in lots more troops, because they sunk one of their cruisers with their battleship, and so that they thought that did really well, but they didn't understand how many forces the U.S. actually had on there, and so the U.S. just completely dominated them. And the Japanese people died, and then they took over the place, and it was a costly defeat. This is the Battle of Iwo Jima, where basically the U.S. brought in all these ships and just started constantly firing upon the island.
Light me up, light me up.
And so the Japanese people had to hide in the caves, and they waited there for a long time. And then once the U.S. started unloading their people, it took a while, but once they had like most of their people unload off the ships, the Japanese just started firing repeatedly, started killing them. But the U.S. just had so many people that Japanese people started dying. And there's actually a movie about Iwo Jima, it's really good. But it's all in Japanese. But then the 28th Regiment of the 5th Division spent 3 days battling their way up the hills, and they finally put that flag on there, and that's that famous scene you see with the people on the rock putting the flag up. And it was a good battle for the U.S., but it was extremely bloody for both sides. Yeah. Alright, the Battle of Okinawa was when Japan was basically down to its last defenses, and so they basically went all out and just went crazy. So they start off with kamikazes when the warships went in.
Uh-oh, here comes a kamikaze. Kamikaze airplane. Oh, he gone.
He gone.
And they did pretty good damage, but then the U.S. came in eventually and unloaded their forces, and there was vicious and bloody battle going on.
Okay. Now you can do a rope swing kick if you want. He's got. Now what?
In the town of Okinawa, and the Japanese sacrificed their airfields so they could fortify lines and try to like put up last defenses. And so they even tried to bring in a battleship, but then the U.S. shot it down, and like 4,000 soldiers died right there for the Japanese. And after the battle was finally over and the U.S. took it, there was over 26,000 American servicemen who were later treated for psychological problems just because of the ferocity and intensity that went on there.
Oh yeah.
Steven's so wet right now.
Oh yeah.
If we just make all these consecutive really fast, it'll look really cool.
So many fucking mosquitoes.
You know what I'm saying? The Olympic winner of rope jumping.
Hey, send him back over. The rope.